Well, here we are. It is Friday. Let's see, what's the date? November 3rd, 2023. A few weeks till Thanksgiving. Halloween is over, and the collecting goes on. I hope everybody's well. It's been a busy week here. A lot has been going on, and I'm going to go through some of it. There's been some very good auction results. Some interesting auctions are coming up, and I'm going to talk about those, talk about some eBay auction results, and whatever else pops into my head, I guess, while we're going through all this. The first thing I wanted to mention was that a lot of you saw we did a video that was a little bit different for us. It was a discussion about history and art and why you collect. We did that video earlier this week, and there were a lot of positive comments about it. So maybe we'll try to do more in that area. It's an interesting topic. There's a lot to think about and so forth. So if you haven't seen it, please do check it out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that too. The other thing I wanted to mention was on the Patreon account. We've been talking about it a bit because a number of you suggested I do it because you'd like to contribute to the site and things. And I didn't feel right about just, saying send me $5 a month. So what we did was we made a decision here to build up the Patreon side of things quite a bit. And we've added a lot of options and features onto it. And I'm going to go through them really, really quickly just to sort of explain what's happening. One of the things that we did was because there are the global member pages, which many of you belong to, and the people on Patreon are contributing about the same amount as the global member page subscribers do. So we've added the global member page items that are over there to this site. We did some technical work, had to do a little bit of programming to get it all linked in, and we did. And if you come to the home page, we've posted this at the top. Those of you who have subscribed, explaining what we're doing. And we also added some other content this week, things like there's an auction coming up in Germany that I'm going to talk about in the video today at Ripon Boswell that has some extraordinary things. And we've begun doing sort of mini videos a couple of times a week, talking about things that I have, things that I've bought, things that I've sold, sort of a little bit of inside baseball, I guess. And more casual, less not at all formal, just sort of chatting and sharing things. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, if you come over here and click the collections button, the links to the bid amount global member pages are here. There's a section for catalogs and books. There's posts, and all of the videos, of course, are over here. And I just got a note. I want to mention this. I just got an email from YouTube, and apparently they're changing the way advertising is being done. And they're going to start putting more ads in the beginning, in the middle. Some of them will be skippable, some of them won't be skippable because they're trying to maximize their earnings, obviously. So if you belong to Patreon or you have the global member pages, you can watch the videos there ad free. But if you're just watching them on YouTube, you're going to be sort of stuck waiting through their new ad program, which is a bit of a pain in the neck. But at any rate, that's what's going on. And if you click the link here for the global member page off of the Patreon page, there's a password. You click this link down here, it takes you over there, and we're building that out slowly. You have to type in the password to get in, and which you get when you subscribe. It's on the page, and enter. There we go. And here's the bare bones, the beginning of adding all of those listings. And if you click this, for example, many of you are familiar with this. I realize I'm just sort of going through it. Here are all the items over on bid amount. So the two sites are now getting integrated. All right, so just food for thought. If you're thinking of joining, do. If you're a global member page subscriber and you decide when your subscription runs out you want to stay on and do it over on Patreon, you can. I think it's $1 a month difference or something. It's peanuts, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I think it's important that people get get something for if they're helping us, we're happy to share information and add a little bit extra. Okay, now things that are going on. This couple of sales. We're going to go through some sales that are coming up. This is coming up at Doyle's. I noticed this. I put it on the global pages a few days ago. The auction's on the 9th of this month. And I noticed this. If you're a Chinese export collector, you really ought to take a look at this thing. This is an extremely rare form of early 19th century, late 18th century Fitzhugh, with this very finely worked reticulated cage, upper and lower. It's based on a European silver form, but it is absolutely unbelievable quality. Unbelievable quality. And it doesn't have any bids yet, which is rather remarkable. I think this is a fantastic thing. And if you collect Chinese export, you want to look at this. This is absolutely fantastic thing. It's about 10 inches in diameter, but the form with its original under tray, but the upper section here, this body is very unusual. Has the strap handles that you see on mugs and pitchers, but it's been added to this, so it's something worth thinking about. And the estimate is only $500 to $800, $250 starting price, starting bid. And it's right now it's got no bids here. Maybe it has some bids over on the Doyle site, but to me, if you're into China trade, throw $1,500 on this thing because I think it's pretty fantastic. Now, other things that are happening. The Ripon Boswell auction. I don't know if you're familiar with Ripon Boswell, but they are an auction house in Germany. They've been around for years, and they specialize in rare carpets and textiles. And they've handled some of the greatest Oriental rugs, Chinese rugs, rare silks, and all this that you've ever seen. Absolutely amazing things. And when big league collectors go to dispose of their collections, they often go to Boswell's for it because they have a very deep reach and into a very sort of esoteric market. And in this auction are a bunch of very nice Chinese, Tibetan, and Turkoman, which is Central Asian carpets and textiles. And I want to go through a couple of them because they're absolutely amazing. This is at Boswell's. This is a Tibetan cotton, and it's a beautiful carpet. And these Tibetan rugs, this is woven in the early 20th century, are known for their bright colors, very festive, very. When you look at Tibetan rugs and seat cushions and all this, you'll see that they're very bold colors, beautifully bold, but very pleasing tones. And this one is superbly woven. If you look at that border, that three-dimensional looking border, very, very technically proficient to be able to weave a thing like this. And this was done in the early 20th century. There's the back of it, and it's mounted on a red cloth mount for hanging. I don't recommend buying these and putting them on the floor. I think they look great on a wall. They make terrific wall art. And this one is about, about 3 feet, 3 by 2 feet wide, but really wonderful. And then there's a very large Ningxia pillar rug from the mid-19th century of the dragon on a cobalt blue ground. It measures around, I think it's 5 feet tall or something. Get the dimensions here. 157 centimeters. Yeah, it's a little over 5. It's about 5 by 3 feet in size. It's estimated at 8,000 to 9,500 euros with a 6,500 euro opening bid. But it's in very fine condition, has very good color, and is a wonderful, wonderful pillar rug. They wrap them around columns, and this is a beautiful example. Now, other things that they've got this Ningxia sitting rug, and it's also mid-19th century rugs. Everybody has to realize mid-19th century rugs. Once you get prior to about 1890, anything made before that are still around as far as rugs and carpets go are rare. And when you get into the 18th century, they're even much rarer because they just didn't survive. They were used. They were made of wool, wool foundations or cotton foundations that was all hand spun, and they tend to wear out. It's just simply the nature of the creature. But this is a nice small sitting rug, and in the middle it's got the double dodra here, which is the Tibetan symbol. You see these sometimes. They do them often in bronze, and there are 2 of them crossed with yang and yin in the middle, and then these ruyi heads. But notice the pile. It's in very, very good shape. all the way around. There's the back of it. The color is extremely pleasing. This soft yellowish gold ground with cobalt on it. Blue and gold go so well together. And it's 800 to 900 euros with a 700 euro starting price. I think it's going to go beyond that. I suspect it will. I suspect it'll bring 1,500 to 2,000 euros or maybe more. But it's a good example. It's a really fine example. And it's very typical of the kind of things that you see at Boswell's. And then there's this Yomud Osmalik. The Yomud tribe were sheep herders and nomaders that lived in Central Asia, Afghanistan, up and down the Amu Darya River. And this is one of the most famous of this kind that was ever found. And this exact piece was on the cover of there was a very famous German carpet dealer in Germany named Eberhard Herrmann. And those of you who have been collecting rugs for any length of time know about Herrmann. And once a year, he put out the book, this catalog, hardbound book of the great rarities that he found. And he had probably, well, he was sort of a controversial guy, but I had the chance to meet him quite a few times. And I liked him. He's very German, very stern, but very smart. And he had sort of an unfortunate crash in his business back then. But while he was operating and doing his thing, he turned up endlessly great carpets and textiles, and he was known for paying top money. And he would put out this book each year. And this particular Osmalik was on the cover of one of his books one year as his great find of the year. And a highly unusual form, graphically a pretty dazzling looking thing, and woven in wool. And this would be used as a camel trapping. And across the top, you have all the camels, because they were nomads, some with people on them, some with goods stacked high on them as they traveled to market. A really lovely thing. And it's pretty good size. It's 130, so it's 4.5 feet wide and about almost 3 feet tall. Just a beautiful example. And it's got a big estimate. It's estimated at 60 to 70,000 euros with a starting bid of 48,000 euros. And I'll be interested to see how this does, because this rug has been off the market for 30 years and it's been published many, many times. It's been studied and commented on. And these were again meant to have these today. If you owned a thing like this, you would hang it on your wall. All right. The other pieces that are coming up are this. This is also from Central Asia, a salor. They're known as shawals, which are the fronts. They're basically bag faces. If you know what a bag face is, it's the front of a saddle bag, and then it would have a less elaborately woven, flat woven back, and it was something in which people would put goods and products and so forth. But sometimes they wove them just for show or as dowry pieces, and this was probably woven as a dowry piece. It is exceedingly fine. Has a magenta ground, which may be silk highlighted, but graphically very good. And these were woven, this pattern was woven from memory. They didn't work off of designs or schematics or anything. They were woven in yurts and using very, very fine wool. The wool quality of these pieces are about the best wool in the world. And this particular piece has been published also many times, estimated at 26 to 30,000 euros, 22,000 euro opening bid. And it's coming out of a pretty famous collection. They have the information down there. The Albert Hornbach collection in Landau. And it was published by Mackey, Louise and Thompson, John Thompson, Louise Mackey and John Thompson, who wrote the book Tribal Carpets and Traditions back in 1980s. And it was published also by Eberhard Herrmann in his book. Again, one of the greats. All right, so those are a few things to think about if you're interested in rugs and carpets. Check out the Ripon Boswell sale. See how it does. The other carpets they have in this sale are also quite excellent. And there's there's quite a bit of Chinese material and so forth. And it's just another area that I think is extremely interesting. I've been buying Turkoman things since the 1980s, late 70s, and I really enjoy them. And every once in a while, I dive in and buy a few more pieces. But this is a particularly interesting interesting sale, and it'll be fascinating to see how it does. Now, the next thing I wanted to mention was this. This is coming up at Stair Gallery in Hudson, New York on the 9th of November. And they have this just listed as Chinese pale orange and sage green velvet 4-panel screen. And if you know anything about Chinese textiles, you'll recognize these. And these are cut velvet. And these panels are from the 18th century. These are really nice. And somebody put them on a screen some time ago. One of them is a bit tatted up at the bottom, and it's got a bit of wear and some splits to it. But the other three look quite good. And one that we're going to see in a little while, it's very similar with a blue background, just sold at an auction in the UK at Lion and Turnbull. And we're going to get to that in a minute. And it was a small piece, and it brought about $260. But these are full panels. These aren't cut down. And the estimate is $1,200 to $1,800, which is extremely reasonable. For these, if you really want some great Chinese textiles, these are it. How they ended up on the screen, I'll never know, but these appear to be 18th century and very, very fine quality and a beautiful. Love that color, that orange ground with the green. It's an interesting color combination because you wouldn't think it would work, but it does. It looks good. All right. And now also coming up, this is also at Alex Cooper. This is tomorrow. I know some of you are watching this sale, and I've had some inquiries about it. This is a very nice sang de bouffe vase. A beautiful pear shape, nice glaze on it. Very well done. I might have mentioned this one a few weeks ago, and since then I've gotten a bunch of inquiries on it. There's the bottom, clearly 19th century, probably early to mid 19th century. They give it some sort of date as what do they call it? Xinfeng era. I think it's older than that. $600 to $800. It's up to $375. I suspect it'll bring $1,800 to $2,500. It's fairly big. It's 13 inches tall. This is not a 6 or 7 inch pear, bladder form or pear bottle, a pear shaped vase. This is a big one. And I think the size is going to push the price up considerably, maybe even to $3,000. But we'll see. And the other vase they have in the sale is this more of a Lang Yao type vase with a long straight neck, very nicely potted, beautiful potting on it. And this one is even bigger. It's 15 inches tall. That's very big for this form. And the glaze looks quite good on it. And I looked at the top of it, and the bottom. It's got a hairline, short hairline here off the top, near the top of the neck. It doesn't bother me. And there's the footroom on it. And this looks like a late 18th century or an 18th century vase to me. Maybe a little earlier. I'd have to really look at it and get some good pictures, better pictures. But it sure looks like it's 18th century, maybe Kangxi period. And it's estimated at just $800 to $1,200. It's got one bid at $400, and this looks like an exceptional vase, and it could bring $3,500 to $5,000 pretty easily. But it's again big for one of these. It's not 6 or 7 inches as this form often is. This is 15 inches and 8.5 inches in diameter. So that makes it a big one. And this is a sale that's coming up at Material Culture in Philadelphia. I want to double check that. He has a bunch of Chinese rugs also coming up. Also, if you're in the U.S. and you don't want to try shipping from Europe, from Boswell's, this is one that's right here in Philadelphia, and they have Tibetan rugs. This is a indigo cotton rug, which is blue on blue, very nice design, and was probably made around 19. They said 1900. I think that's about right. Lots of nice rugs were woven in Tibetan during that time between the 1890s and the 1920s. They wove lots of nice rugs for export to bring in money, and many visitors that went to Tibet would buy carpets and textiles there and bring them back. And that's how they became popular, was that people were getting to get into Tibet to scout around a little bit and see the countryside and see the temples and visit the culture. And the carpets are small carpets are very easy to bring home. You can just put them in with your clothes. They have also this Chinese rug in the sale and so forth. So if you want to poke around over there, Material Culture, Philadelphia has a sale coming up. And that sale is on the 21st of November. So you have plenty of time to get condition reports and shipping information and so forth. Now, on the shipping issue, I've noticed there's a couple of companies now. I griped about this a few weeks ago. because so few auction houses seem to be interested in getting into the shipping business. And I can understand why for furniture and big things. You're going to need a freight company. But anything that'll fit basically in a 20 by 20 inch cube, if you're an auction house and you don't do the shipping and offer it, because there is a calculator that you can have if you sell on live auctioneers, there's a calculator they have where they will give you the price to ship and they can figure it out. And you enter some basic information and it'll tell you. But the auction houses that are smart are getting into doing the shipping, where before you place your bid, you can see exactly what your shipping numbers are going to be, because there are so many horror stories about people buying things at auctions, and then they find out that the local shipping company, especially in New York, in London, and in Paris, you buy a $500 thing that's 8 inches in size, and you get a shipping quote of $750 to get it sent to you. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And all it does is hurt the auction house. If you're an auctioneer and you're not providing shipping, you're out of your mind. All right. Bite the bullet, set it up, get a room for it, call Uline, get some boxes, get the wrapping material, grow up and do it. All right. Because expecting people from thousands of miles away to make their own shipping arrangements in a city they may never have been to and don't know anyone is nuts. All right. Let people buy from you by making it easy. Make it easy for them, and not having shipping. The first thing I look at when I find something I like, especially on live auctioneers or Invaluable or over in Drouot, I look to see if they have, on the Drouot site, they have an automatic calculator, and they seem to do all that automatically. But I always check to see what the shipping is. And I don't often feel like contacting the auction house and then getting a hold of their shipping guy and then calling them and getting an estimate and all that. It would be so much easier if they just did it, and the auction house. There's enough money involved here where they could actually probably make it pay for itself. They could add for the time for the labor, of course, and the work, but it would make the buying so much easier. It's why eBay is so successful, because everybody sees the shipping price right on the site, and that's one of the secrets. All right, eBay tells you the shipping before you buy. All right, buying in the dark and not knowing that the shipping is crazy. All right, and any auction house, if any auction house that's doing these sales that doesn't want to get into shipping is being foolish. All right, hire the people. There are lots of people that know how to pack and ship stuff. There are plenty of ways to do it. It doesn't take up that much space. It makes life easier, and you probably make a little bit of money doing it because you can charge for the labor and time. And it'll grease the skids for you to present things to your customers and get them to buy them. All right. Okay, rant is over. Now, this bowl. It looks like a pretty standard second half of the 19th century bowl. It's very nice, very pretty. How big is it? I want to talk about this a little because it's got a very, very unusual aspect to it. Okay, Bottoms is selling this. I think they misdated it. They're saying it was made between 1790 and 1810. But it's very big, 21 inches in diameter. This is a monster of a bowl. All right, there it is. To me, this looks very much mid-19th century. I don't know why they call this 1810. This particular form didn't even exist then. But at any rate, that's what they did. And it's very meticulously painted. It's almost busy looking, but I like it. And it's big. Keep in mind, 21 inches. All right, and there's the interior of it, nice interior, and you get the surprise of this fumée-jaune ground running around it, and then another circle of figures and cartouches, and then sort of a figural landscape entering a building. But when you keep going, the back of it has this wonderful dragon decorated on the bottom. And this is something you don't see very often. And you certainly don't see in bowls that were made between 1790 and 1810, but you do see them sometimes on mid-19th century bowls. And that's when this bowl, I suspect, was made, around 1850 to 1870. But wonderful dragon on here, an iron red. Very, very unusual, and it's not something you see very often. And the estimate on it, I think, is not that outrageous, given the size of this. 21 inches, estimated at $3,000 to $5,000 with a $2,500 starting bid. But this is a very, very big punch bowl. I would get a condition report. You have time. It's only the 14th. It's being sold. Where's this being sold? In London. But something worth looking into. I just disagree completely with the date, and I think a lot of you probably do too, but maybe it was a typo on there and give them the benefit of the doubt. All right, and then over here to this Revere auctions. I spoke with the folks there the other day because they've gotten a load in. They've gotten some good things, and one of them is this: a very, very unusual Wan Li Ming wine pot, but it's a big one, and it's got the reticulated work on the side. Here, not too dissimilar from that China trade piece we saw that was coming up at Doyle's, except this one is about 200 years older, but beautifully painted, copper alloy handles, Japanese box, and all this. And apparently, it was bought at Christie's sometime not long ago, 10 or 15 years ago. But very, very, very rare and very large. And very finely done for Wan Li, particularly fine work, because as you know, some Wan Li work is a little bit sloppy, and it's estimated at 20 to 40,000, and has a $12,000 opening price, opening bid on it. But it's a rare bird, and I think it's worth looking at. There's a bunch of things over there. You should go check it out. They're already on the global pages. And then there's this, and this is a nifty thing. This is a seal, Famille Noire dragon seal. They date it to the Republic period, which I think is late Qing to Republic, which I think is probably right. And it comes from the George Tabor collection, which was a pretty famous collection many, many years ago, and got passed down. And it was on exhibit at the Carnegie Museum of Art in Pittsburgh. And what's interesting about this is its size. It's very big. It is. I want to get the exact measurements here. It's like 8 inches or something in size. It's not a small seal. Where they put the size? I saw it here the other day. Hold on a minute. There it is down here. Height 5 3/4, 9.5 inches by 7.5 inches. So it's 9.5 inches long. So this is a big seal. It's not 3 inches or 2 inches, and it's done in Famille Noire, of course, which was a popular color that people often associate with the Kangxi period, mostly due to myth, because they didn't do much in black. But they redecorated a lot of Kangxi pieces in the late 19th century with black enamel, because the people wanted them. But the modeling of the dragons and the relief work on this thing is really terrific, and the quality of the seal on the bottom is outstanding. It has a Kangxi seal on it. This is the top. This is the bottom, but it has a Kangxi seal on it that's been meticulously carved. This is, the kind of what the bottom of an imperial seal actually looks like. Very, very crisp, very, very clean. If you ever see a seal and somebody shows it to you and they say, "Oh, it's a Chinlung seal," and it doesn't look like this, it isn't perfect. It's a fake. It's just as simple as that. At any rate, this is coming up. It's estimated at 15 to 30,000 with a $10,000 starting price. But if you love if you like heavily modeled pieces, you collect scholars' objects or seals, this is a great thing to think about. It's expensive. It's not for everybody, obviously, because it's going to sell. Should sell for 15 to 25,000 anyway. But it is an unusual and very unique item. And if you're thinking about you haven't seen it before, you probably haven't. You haven't probably seen ones like it. I think there's one in the Palace Museum, it seems to me, that I saw years ago in a photograph, but it's not the kind of thing you see very often. So give that a little thought. Now, what's been happening? Let's see here. We'll go over here. There. This is the textile I mentioned. I was talking about the stair gallery screen that had the orange ground with green, and here you have sort of this was more blue. It's actually silver on an orange ground, but very similar, the same period, and so forth. This is just a panel, and this just sold 284 lots ago. The auction's still going on, for 260, 317 plus the premium. So it sold for about $400 just for one section. All right, and in that screen that we just saw, there's basically 10 or 15 times this amount, and they're complete and they haven't been cut down and reboarded. So it's worth thinking about. And this particular one was sold originally by Linda Wigglesworth in 1984. And as many of you know, Linda Wigglesworth was the premier expert in the world on Chinese silks and textiles. She wrote all the books. She did exhibits, and legend. And this was something she had sold back in the 80s to the previous owner. So give you something to go by when you're trying to figure out what the other thing is worth. And then there was this at Lion and Turnbull. Also, this is an extremely unusual Ming bronze double-handled vase with landscapes on it, with caravans of people going around the outside. And I think somebody got a great buy on this. And there's the other side of a pot with a building with a person standing out on a balcony, and food lines below it, and then below that are crashing waves. Lots and lots going on here. Nice patina in highly unusual form. And this one was originally sold by a very good dealer in London, Nicholas Pritchett, who had worked at Christie's for many years. He went into being a private dealer from there. But this is a very nice bronze, very choice. And I think somebody got a great buy. I think this was a bit of a bargain. It sold for it was estimated for nothing, 600 to 800 pounds. It ended up selling for 1,800 pounds plus premium, so about $2,600. And I think that was short money for this. I think somebody got a great buy, and it measures around about 7 inches tall. It's not huge, but it's very fine work, extremely fine, in a very unusual form. If you go through the bronze books, you're probably not going to find this particular form. Awfully nice. And then this, I had to throw this in because, as you know, I love old carvings and root carvings, and this was a corker of a root carving, and it's got the head and the body are all done in sandalwood, of course, but the burl root on here was beautifully done, and they stripped it and polished it, and then maybe carved it a little bit and finished it up. It wasn't terribly big. It was good size. I'll get to the size in a second, but the quality of the carving of the head and the face, just cosmic, just absolutely great, and it's been well kept. You notice it has a nice finish on it, meticulous. The fingers were all there. Everything was intact. Just a great looking thing. And this was bought from Gerard Hawthorne Limited, Oriental Art, old dealer. And it's got the name of the collector on there. And he paid $2,300 for it back in 2008. So that was 15 years ago. And this time around, it sold for $1,953 US plus the premium. So about what does that come out to? About $2,700 or something. But I thought this was an absolutely wonderful carving, and it's good size, but it's not huge. It was what was it, like 14 inches or something in height? I meant. Did they even put? I know it's in here. There it is, 41 centimeters high. So it is around about 16 inches in height, roughly. A great example. Very, very nice. And then this was sold also. This was a heck of a nice bowl. I don't know if you saw this, but it was a late Ming to early Qing dynasty bowl. It's about 8 inches in diameter, but powerfully done, with this very bold foot, strongly molded body, and all in concise decoration, very finely done with flowers and so forth, and then a sort of a lotus flower top added. So it's a fairly and a lotus flower base. So it's a fairly complicated piece, and it's got a very good patina on it. There's the bottom of it. And it was sold by Sidney Moss. And Sidney Moss, again, this collector that had this consignment obviously only bought from the best dealers in London and probably elsewhere as well. But Sidney Moss, of course, is a very, very well-established, famous dealer. And he sold this in 1984 for 550, was it 550? 550 pounds. So this one went up a bit in value over what he paid for it. But he bought from highly reputable dealers, and Sidney Moss was certainly one of them. And there it is, $2,198. Nice looking piece, but beautiful surface. Jesus. And then this did pretty well. This was a great thing, though. This was a Ming Dynasty 8 trigram bronze, and it's sort of a compressed form. More of the composition, the lower body form is the kind of thing you saw typically in I always think of as being later Ming and early Qing pieces. But wonderful surface, wonderful patina. It almost looks art moderne modern. It looks very contemporary, this form. And the trigrams run around the shoulder here, and the patina was excellent on it. And I like this a lot. And there's notes and all kinds of information about the piece. And it ended up selling for $4,395 plus the premiums, so about $5,500. Still a reasonable price because it's a rare thing. And it was, let's see, how big was this? 28 centimeters wide. So it was just a little under a foot in diameter. So it was a pretty substantial piece, but in beautiful condition and, came from a good collection, obviously. All right. Now, what else has been going on? Oh, over on eBay. This was a plate. The seller of this reached out to me on the identification assistant service because he was going to list it and he wanted to make sure he had the information right. It's a very nice piece of clobberware, and I know one of you out there is chasing it because you bought the other piece of clobberware that we're going to talk about in a minute. And this is a very nice example with the gold ground. I think it's really quite exceptional. All the way around. Very, very nice piece. And it went for $242. Maybe he got this one. I'm hoping he got this one because he bought the other one. But a nice looking plate, 18th century. And it was big, 35 centimeters in diameter. So it was around 14 or 15 inches wide. So that was a very good buy, actually. That was still a good buy. And then over to this, the bamboo brush pot. This is a late Qing brush pot, but I liked it because I like obviously everybody knows I like carvings. Yeah, we know, Peter. The carving quality, this sort of a deep relief background, but the carving of the foreground images, I suspect whoever bought it noticed it, is much better than this. Is a fairly commercial form that were produced during the late Qing period, early Republic even, and the carving tends to be sort of sloppy on many of these, more like chip carving. They're not refined. The faces aren't defined. The patina isn't great and all that. This one had exceptional groundwork in it, and I don't think it brought a lot just because most people just assume that it's one of the ones that aren't particularly meticulously carved. This one was beautifully carved. And who's ever been taking care of it has been very careful to oil just the carved areas and not get oil or do anything in the background, so it remains quite bright and light in color. There's the interior of it. There's the bottom of it, exactly what it should look like. And then you have these phoenixes rising up. But look at the details of the phoenix feathers. Always check the details. The details of these brush pots can vary wildly. And this one was excellently done. Excellently done. There's the double spotted deer, and there's the phoenix again. And again, all the feathers are carved in. Everything on this piece was done very, very, very carefully. And I think somebody got a heck of a good buy. $180 for this. All right. And I think that if people had paid a little more time and looked at it and didn't assume that it was one of the common, sort of junky export types done in this style, it probably would have brought $800 or $1,000. But it went for $180 to somebody. So good on you. All right, I hope it's one of you. And this was that little cup that we talked about, the clobbered cup. That was the fellow that bought this was interested in that plate. I hope he got it. This was that very rare clobbered form with the cage work and the honeycomb pattern and all that. Beautiful example. And I think I estimated it 400 to 600 or something like that, but I guess people got after it. They loved it, and it ended up bringing 1,050. Again, refer to the video we did a few weeks ago on estimates, how much they mean. What the heart wants, and that's sort of it. All right, now, the pair of Kutani moon flasks. I talked about these because you don't see this form very often in Kutani ware or Japanese ware. You see it often in Chinese, obviously, but not in Japanese. And these are nice, nice late Meiji period pair of Kutani vases. They're good size, as you can tell by the Coca-Cola can in the foreground. I hate Coke cans in photos, but that's okay. 11 and a half inches tall. All right, get a nice wine bottle. Get a nice looking French wine bottle that's empty and use that. People know how big those are too. Put those in the pictures. But anyway, this was a nice pair of Kutani vases for $431. Not bad. And then over to this, the Japanese bamboo brush pot. They're really not for brush pots, but they're more for like putting an umbrella in. They're quite tall. Here's the inside of it. And this one was listed. I put it in. I was hesitant to put it in the listing, but I did mention it last week that this is not a Chinese brush pot. This is Japanese. And this is a style of pot that the Japanese did, especially in particular during the Meiji Restoration era, where they would carve one face of it and leave the rest of it either blank or throw a little script in. Um, there's the rest of it. See if we get around. There's the back of it. It's left completely blank, and you can see the ribbing in the bamboo, which is kind of nice. Um, there it is. It's got a split down it. They often have splits. That's part of the game. There's the bottom of it. And I thought this was a very, very nice brush pot, though. It was good size. These are fairly tall. What was this one? 16 inches tall. This is a big one. I have another one that's about the same size as my own. I like it. It has soldiers on it. I like this one a lot, too. And it just went for $173. You can buy great carvings from Japan in wood, especially very reasonably. And this is just an example of it. That is a beautiful piece of work. And, if it was from China, it would have been, probably add a zero onto the price. All right. And then over here, the Ming Dynasty little bronzes of the two boys. Here they are. And they've been mounted on these look like little stone bases or blonde wood bases. But these were nice. These were very attractive. Here's a picture of it in the guy's hand, the seller's hand, nice patina on them, and the charming setup on these stands. I think that's very effective. And somebody picked the pair up, $170 for both of them. That was a good buy. That was a very, very nice buy. And that's, leave a bid. I say it constantly, and a lot of you, I know you think that's funny, but I really mean it. Leave a bid. Don't forget to leave a bid. Leave a bid, right away when you see it. Leave a small bid, but at least you'll have something out there, and eBay will remind you as the lot is coming up to close, saying that you've been outbid or you're still the leading bidder. But at least you'll be reminded. But put it on your watch list and then put a bid on it. If you put a bid on something, incidentally, you can't then add it to your watch list. So it's easy to miss if you work off your watch list. So put it on the watch list first to get it there, then go back and drop a bid on it. You can do it all from the page. There's a little button, obviously. You just add it and then bid. And then you can keep track of it from two sides, because a lot of good pieces get missed by people because their watch list doesn't have it, but they placed a bid on it and they forgot they had the bid. So put them in both places. And then back to this, the little fan painting. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and whoever bought it didn't pay their bill. You maybe remember this. This was a nice ink painting, and it sold for $300 or $400, and he got stiffed. And there's the back of it, clearly old, probably from the first 20 years of the late Qing, early 20th century ink painting of a woman in a bamboo grove. And this was taken off of a fan. You can still see the slot at the bottom with the fan handle attached. That's what that little area is for right here. That was where the fan handle was attached to it. But this is a perfectly nice ink drawing. And the pork seller had to relist it again. This was unfortunate. And the second time around, it brought about half of what it brought the first time. And that's why I wish eBay would permanently suspend anybody who doesn't pay his bill. You can miss it one or two, something happens, you're out sick or something. But I guarantee you that half of these guys have been kicked off, after failing to pay bills 10 or 20 times. But it takes a long time to get thrown off of eBay for non-payment, typically. Shouldn't. You do non-payment with an auction house, and the word will spread like wildfire that you don't pay your bills, and you won't even be allowed to register. We had an auction in Maine a few years ago with some friends. We helped them out. They got involved with this estate, and we sort of worked together to make it successful. And a man showed up at the auction who had been to auctions all over Massachusetts. This was in southern Maine. It was a very good collection. And he owed like 5 auction houses money. And one of the attendees came over to me and said, "Don't let that guy register. He owes," and he went down the list of all the auction houses he owed money to. And right before the auction began, he went over to register, and I was the guy that had to go over and tell him, you can't spend any money here today because you don't pay your bills. And It turned into a little bit of a scene, but it was okay. He understood. We helped him understand. Okay, now what's coming up? This is coming up. This is a nice. I spotted this the other day. It's being sold by Steve up in New Hampshire. Nice Yongchen plate. You know the pattern. It's a very well-known pattern. But this is a very good example. If you've been looking for one of these, this one looks quite good. You notice the gilding is pretty much all there. The enamels look good. I don't see a lot of chipping. I've looked at this before. I'm double checking it as I'm talking to make sure it doesn't have a crack or anything. I don't see any hairlines in it. And Steve is good about mentioning them. There you go. And this is a nice plate. It's only up to $132. It closes Monday. It will be on the newsletter page this week. For absolutely. So if you're looking for a very pretty, well-painted Famille Rose Yongchen period plate, this is it. Very, very nice. And if you don't know about the newsletter page, just do a quick thing. If this is for new viewers, over on bitamount.com, at the top, there's a thing called the newsletter page. And on here, we put things that we find on eBay each week. If I can get the thing to load, there we go. I'm using a lot of system resources recording, so it's a little slow. There we go. Come on. Do 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 do. No idea why that won't open. There we go. All right. Over here, you come to the newsletter page, and these are the things we find every week that we from on eBay that we put up that we've checked out and that look good to us and so forth. And there was quite a few things last week, and the prices were all over the place. The prices right now are crazy. I don't understand them. Leave a good bid and hope for the best. And if you want, so sign up to get the notification when it gets updated each week. All right, now back over to business here. We got that, and then this is on there. This is a very nicely done, shaped Chinese lacquer export mid 19th century box. There's the ends. It looks to be in pretty good shape. There's a little bit of wear and fading on the top, and that's mostly just from atmosphere, from being in a room. That's why people often say, well, how come this is so perfect and the top of it looks like this? It's because that's where everything falls. Things land on it and people are always wiping it down. So it gets a little bit of wear to it, but kind of adds to the charm of the thing. But this is a good box. Very nice box. The interior is perfect. Interior is absolutely perfect. It's probably a glove box. Let's see here. It's up to $124. It's got another few hundred to go. Probably bring 350 to 450. And this closes on Sunday. And then over here to this. This is a listing error, and I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. He's got this listed as Chinese Republic period. And those of you that are interested in these figures, these Famille Rose figures, know that these are generally dated nearly always as 18th to early 19th century. And that's what these are. And it has all of the typical characteristics of that period. There's the bottom of them, and you've got the missing enamel area on the front of the plinth. Hold on a second, I'll show you. Right here under the feet. They always seem to skip the glaze right there under those tootsies coming down. And these are pretty nice. And they typically sell, just so you know, for a couple of $100 each, $200 or $300 a piece. So you got three of them here. So these should bring somewhere at least in the $700 to $900 range. So we'll see. One of them's got a little damage to a finger or something. But if you have these, some of you are building sets of these because you can have many of them. We've seen them in auctions where there'll be, wasn't it Bonhams or Christie's a few years ago had a lot with about 15 of them in it. It was very interesting, and it did well. It brought $6,000 or $8,000. But at any rate, those are going to be on there. And then there's this 18th century armorial platter. And this is very nice because I like the lady and the court lady seated on the carpet with an attendant pouring her tea and another servant fanning her and so forth. It's a very, very interesting scene. And then there's an armorial crest on the bottom. And this is an 18th century example, judging by the back and the front and so forth. Nice looking platter. It's not a great big one. You can see the Pepsi can there. It's not huge, but it's a very nice one. It's up to $63. It closes on Sunday. How big is this? About 8 inches or 9 inches? 9 1/4 inches in length. Yeah. Okay. And then, last but not least, is the Cuckoo House plates. If those of you that like China trade for the Dutch market and the European market, you'll recognize these right away. It's a fairly famous pattern, and they call them Cuckoo House dishes. Sort of a fun thing, but they're very collectible. And these are a nice one, and it's the original cup and the original saucer. They match, which is often they don't. Often you get variants, and they don't. They sort of assemble sets of them. These two look like they belong together, absolutely. And there's the exterior of it. Nice work all the way around. Little glaze pulling on the inside, not a big deal. The bottom looks good. From what I can see, they look fine. Oh, one of them has a little hairline right there. Okay. And that's it. But it's a rare pattern. It's a very collected thing. And right now it's up to just $16. It just got posted. This is being sold by Stubbsy Wubsy, who's a very, very good dealer over in Dorset. Or in, no, wait a minute. He's in Whittam in Essex, not Dorset. Nice dealer, handles good things, reliable, all that stuff. And this is if you're getting into collecting and you like Kang Shi things, this is a nice thing to own. These are quite sweet. They're well done, and the cup and saucer should bring $200 or $300. Because of the form, but give it a thought. Give it a thought. All right, and that sort of wraps it up. I tried to get through it as quick as I could, and I've gone 50 minutes. Sorry. Um, I have those little rants, and then I get going. Can't help it. Subscribe, please, if you haven't. Leave a comment. I love to read the comments. I read the comments every week. I don't always respond, but I'm very curious to what everybody thinks and what you're interested in, and what you think about the videos and so forth. Suggestions, please make them, and join us on the global member pages or at Patreon. Your choice. They have slightly different content, but we try to give everybody something to make it worthwhile. All right, and have a wonderful weekend. And don't forget to order your turkeys if you're in the U.S. for Thanksgiving. All right. Have a wonderful weekend. See you all again soon. I'll be back next week. All right. Bye-bye.